With the flowers behind his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, my past co-hosts,
Please, please, please.
we all left on they all left, on friendly terms. I got no issues with any of them. It's just I think after a while, I just take up so much space
Uh-huh.
in
Big yapper.
it's big yapper. And then the
So
last
you're
couple
the soft
guys.
skills, Matthew?
Yeah, I mean, I launched this guy into the 21st century. We got on Spotify finally.
Hell yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I'm having fun. I'm doing the editing of the podcast, and
Yeah,
I have
he's a whiz
my
with
little banter.
He's a whiz with the edit.
Why am I so sure that every question is just going to be like a set of lyrics from Botched Chatification?
I hadn't thought about it, but that's what I should have done.
Like, that's what I prepared for tonight.
To answer questions about
then.
tranny chasing, bug chasing.
1,000%.
Dylan Roof. Buccal fat removal. No, we have normal questions for the most part.
I have a good question. I want to. Can I kick this off? Elena,
we got to do the intro first.
Okay. Do the intro fine.
Welcome back to another episode of System of Systems, the audio misinformation arm of the Safety Propaganda Counterintelligence Network. This is your host, Adam, and
Matthew.
And Elena.
We have a terrific guest with us. She's a famed fashion designer, probably the third most famous person we've had on this show.
We're the first two.
Billy Corgan was definitely number one.
Yeah.
And second was I think Tony Ursler, but
I've never heard of him.
Then you might be in second. I don't know. Tony Ursler is a big deal in the art world.
Okay.
He's an amazing artist, actually, and he really loves my writing. I'm writing an essay for his book.
So that's why he's bumped up to second?
Yeah, he got the edge. It's like if I'm judging like a boxing match or something and it's close, you just kind of tip towards the person who has done the most for you lately.
Right.
All right. Matthew, you had a question to kick things off with.
Elena, I know you are also, from Milwaukee, now a New Yorker. Living in New York, you're also, from your background, you're Puerto Rican. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you know who is also Puerto Rican?
Who?
J-Lo. And J-Lo...
Never seen us in the same room. That's
all. No, 100%. But my question to you is, what's your go-to bodega order? Because hers is, what does she get? A ham and cheese and an orange drink. If you know, you know. That's what she said.
Mine's gonna be such like gentrifier shit. I always get the like white Parmesan Annie's mac and cheese, and then cookie dough ice cream Ben and Jerry's.
They're making white Parmesan like crisps.
Oh,
no, but what are you getting? What is the Annie's like? It's not mac and cheese.
It's like the shells, the purple box of mac.
Yeah, no, but you go in, you buy the shells.
Yeah, and then I just leave in shame.
Wow.
And diapers, like that's probably part of the list too.
Well, respect to that. Happy belated Mother's Day.
Oh, thank you.
All the mothers of the world wouldn't be here. And then a follow-up question to that is, do you prefer to cook in or to order in?
Absolutely not. I order constantly. Like, this is my husband's biggest pet peeve, is that I'm constantly ordering food, even like the night after we go grocery shopping. Actually, secret third option, Applebee's.
That sounds lit.
We go there like 3 times a week. It's really
the neighborhood restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only place you can eat up here anyway. So we be up in there.
She's upstate now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So last I saw you, it was at your sample sale, which was...
Oh my God, that's right.
Fabulous. And I might have taken a few pictures there, just saying. But the last I heard, you were buying a house, or you bought a house upstate New York.
We did.
So how's that going?
It's going okay. I was just telling Adam, it's like we like blew the entire
Budget.
budget on like the deposit for the house. So like we have no money for furniture. We have no money for like renovations,
But
cleaning,
that's
water.
minimalist. No,
It's minimalist. Yeah,
it's
let's go with
honestly
that.
on brand because you're gonna be living in some like
God.
abandoned looking.
Yeah, but it's too charming of a house to be like cinematically minimalist. And there's
Gotcha.
screaming babies.
You
It's like
consider
living
your
in
work minimalist?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
No,
I
I
would
think
say it's pretty fucking charged up and maximalist.
yeah, I like that. I like my living spaces to be minimal though. But we have like all the babies. There's like Coco Melon blasting through the house. It's kind of like living in an Irish Catholic ghetto. It's just such a mess right now, but it'll be cute soon.
Yeah,
I keep
Coco
getting-
Melon. My brother's got 3 kids, and he's been telling me about this phenomenon that
yeah,
the kids can't stop watching Coco Melon.
I don't know what it is.
What's the appeal?
It's monotonous and colorful, and I don't know. That's all I could tell you. I think
I
it's
ha
Mind
what?
numbing.
Go ahead, finish.
No, it really is just like the most exhausting, repetitive, simplified mush.
Yeah. Like the dancing fruit videos or whatever, the stimulation videos.
Yeah, literally.
I never really had like childhood content because my dad let me watch R-rated movies by the time that I was like 5 years old.
Oh my God,
So
that's
you're very precocious.
Yeah, no, like I watched Predator, Alien, RoboCop, Die Hard. Like my
yeah.
dad was crazy about that era of films. So I remember the first time he showed me. I'm still a huge Alien fan to this day, just because it was like the first film to really fucking terrify me to the
Mhm.
point where like I couldn't walk through the house late at night, constantly
Mm.
thinking I'm gonna see the xenomorph pop out through the corner. So that was just like such a powerful experience. But yeah, and then I had like a subscription to Spin and Rolling Stone by the time that I was like 7.
The fuck?
Yeah,
You
I was
miss
watching
that
For real.
SpongeBob then. That's what I
yeah,
was doing.
That's so funny. Like I really
yeah.
miss that like visceral horror that you experience when you're young and you're watching horror movies. Like I saw Signs when I was in like 5th grade and I was scarred. Like it was traumatizing for years after the fact.
Mm.
I'm such a horror fan. I've never seen anything that like comes anywhere close to the shit that I saw when I was young.
The
Maybe
only
they don't
horror
make that.
movie of the last say 15 years or so that really leveled me was Ari Aster's debut, Hereditary.
Great.
That was
So good.
actually the first movie that Michelle and I saw together in a theater, and I went in going blind, and I do remember being absolutely astonished, and I clocked him right there as a talent to watch.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm typically always right about these things, pretty much always right about everything,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
What did you think of Midsummer? Was it up to expectation?
Midsummer, I kind of disliked when it first came out, just because it's so not nearly as hair-raisingly frightening as Hereditary was.
Mhm.
But I rewatched it recently, and I was like, it's beautiful, it's colorful, it has a atmosphere to it, it's
Coco
good.
Melon.
It's Coco Melon. I don't think it's great. I think it's good, but I think Beau is Afraid last year
I haven't seen that one
was
yet.
oh, that one I think is one of last year's 2 undeniable masterpieces of cinema.
Really?
Yeah,
What would you say the
along
other one is?
Poor Things.
You liked it? I loved it.
Yeah. I
It
was
was
the
great.
first person to put everybody onto Poor Things. I insisted Jack watch it, and then Jack watched it and loved it, and then it became okay for everybody else to like it. Yeah,
Tasha
no,
and Anna roasted it. I think they got really turned off by the steampunk aesthetics, which I am also want to do, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
no, it was just like so funny, and the acting was so like it was genuinely riotously funny.
Hmm.
So the goofy aesthetics became less bothersome because you're just so invested in the character. And it's like so it approached sex in a way that was so unique to this era where she's just like fucking with reckless abandon, but not like threatening rape accusations at everybody. She's just kind of being like, okay, this was kind of a negative experience, and then she internalizes and her character grows. And the subtlety of Emma Stone's performance in that, where she has to slowly sophisticate Bella every scene without
Yeah,
making it seem like too much of a leap. It was absolutely a fucking masterclass.
love it. Yeah.
I was busy year for her, Emma Stone. Last she did The Curse too, right?
Yeah, which is also pretty great. And
Yeah.
she and at Cannes just now today, Yorgos's new film with her just launched, which
Hmm.
is being well received. So there's actually a few things at Cannes that look kind of interesting to me this year. Anyways,
Yeah, the only cans runoff that I get is the dressing and the requests from the stylists and celebrities. I'm dying to go. I think it would be a blast to be there, but
Mm.
I know it's one of my dreams to be just like accepted by that crowd to some extent.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
we'll make that happen. We can make you a cans fashion girl.
Not even just like not that, but I want to be like I don't know whether it just be as a writer or as a filmmaker or just a handsome swinging
Well,
dick
that's
that
your
they can
like
put in a suit.
that's your like complex, Adam, is like you're the eternal outsider.
Yeah.
But you
But
know who goes every year that we were talking about earlier? Olivier and Olive from Purple.
Yeah, I mean Olivier is dope. He subscribed to my Substack recently.
No way.
Yeah, after we interviewed Emma actually, Matthew, after we
oh,
interviewed
nice,
Emma
yeah.
Stern, I
Oh,
assumed
cool.
Olivier was probably just horny for her and it was like, who is this guy who
Did you
interviewed
know he
her?
can't read English?
What's that?
Did you know he can't read English?
Oh my God, that's hilarious. So he
That's my
definitely just
favorite
followed for
thing. I
that.
think that's so cool when French people don't speak English because it's like it's just commitment to the bit, the likes of which an American will never know. I
Yeah.
think it's
So how
so
did you how if how did the does he ask you the interview questions or do you just
yeah.
so
I
he
mean,
does speak English?
he does, but it's definitely a second language
Yeah.
or third or fourth, who knows?
Yeah. The
But he's so funny.
how would that go?
Good. I mean, like, they reached out a couple of years ago. They were really excited about my work, and so they just come over to the studio. We had a great big warehouse in Greenpoint. Instantly very comfortable, like for all the glamorous like accoutrements of being like a purple fashion editor. They're like very low-key guys that can just hang. So
Yeah.
it was funny. It was like being in a fucking uh what's that like Blue Steel movie?
Zoolander?
Yes, yeah. It was like being in a Zoolander movie because like I'm just sitting outside waiting for them to roll up, and then all of a sudden this taxi full of like Parisians get out with their like little cameras around their necks and they start taking pictures. Ah ouais, c'est ça, exactement. Arrête là. And it's just so weird. It's just such a different vibe. And it's just nice to see that like this like bacchanalia of like fashion remnant still exists in 20
Yeah.
fuck it is.
Yeah,
So
I always liked how Olivier his personal style. I like his creepy frogness, and
uh,
and he seems like a pretty open-minded guy, more or
yeah, he's
less.
gay. Listen, like we were talking about this earlier, but they're like Parisian classic libertine types, and you can't tell
Yeah.
them shit. Like no amount of like woke culture is gonna penetrate that bubble. Like they're already like accustomed to the idea of like heterodox thought.
This is something interesting you bring up because I had heard maybe on Red Scare they were talking about this, but that Galliano was at the Met Gala to attend to Kim Kardashian and Zendaya's dresses or whatever, but they had to leave him off the guest list just to like, you know,
Jesus fucking Christ. Get over it.
I know,
Get
I
over it.
know. But I mean, it to me it was interesting because it's like clearly someone like Anna Wintour doesn't give a fuck, but she has
Totally.
to put this public face forward,
Yeah.
um, and that's very much how because fashion is so inherently fascist in a lot of ways with the beauty standards and the whatnots. It seemed, and maybe that's why woke culture seemed a little less obnoxious in fashion because it was like so absurd. Because you're like, you're just shilling ridiculously expensive garments to people who
You're
can
already in the
afford
mood
it.
for something ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It went down less like aggressive and like it felt less propagandistic, and it sort of blew over quicker.
Hmm. Do you think it's blown over?
Not entirely, but I do think it's interesting that I mean, I was looking at your Wikipedia page, and I don't know if this is Wikipedia trying to like hold you back or whatever, but it says Elena Velez is a fashion designer and a heterodox creator with loose associations to the reactionary dime square scene.
Now,
Oh my
But at the
God.
same time, but at
now.
the same time, you're doing fairly well in the proper fashion industry.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? Like, I've wanted to do fashion since I was a really young kid. I've been on a very singular path my entire life. I've always known where I wanted to go to school. I knew what I wanted to do. And so I've had a lot of time to put myself on the right path. And once I accomplished everything that I thought I needed to be successful in the fashion industry, I just realized how boring everything was and how badly I was craving some sort of like intellectual stimulation and like to be part of a true zeitgeist. And for better or for worse, like I'm sorry, but Dime Square is kind of a it's kind of a thing that will be studied in the future. I'm telling you.
Yeah, probably. Probably. Yeah, I was talking to Salome about this, and I was like, look, what they're really seething about is that you have an it factor, a charisma. That's the reason you're getting all this attention. It's not because there's anything negative about you. It's because there's something that's actually really glowing about you.
I think the thing is that like I like to sample things and try things on. I like to confuse people, and I really do believe in quantifying the zeitgeist or the moment in the way that I see fit.
Mm.
And there's just no denying that there is a feeling and a movement and a scene that is growing in downtown New York that should be documented in some capacity and that is influencing the way that I think about fashion and the times at large.
Hmm.
So it would be impossible for me to deny that that isn't like an exciting influence that is really emboldening me and my work right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. Did you watch the Galliano doc yet?
I haven't seen it yet. No.
It's amazing.
I already know I love it. I don't need to see it.
Yeah. I mean, he's fire. He's hilarious. But so many of the best designers of that time, they came out of some specific subculture. For him, it was obviously
Totally.
Soho, London, and the New Romantics and shit like that.
Yeah.
And the
And there are so many exciting multidisciplinary figures that are emerging from this scene right now that are each going to be studied independently. And I swear to God, it's going to be like one of those like portraits of Studio 50, whatever the fuck it was, where like you have the photo of like Iman and Warhol and like all of these crazy people that each had their own individual amazing thing going on in the same room, like cross
Hmm.
pollinating in crazy ways that we don't even know yet because like this is
oh,
years in the future.
I'm already hard thinking about the botch stratification monograph.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That was such a moment. That was so good.
Yeah, we're playing again on Saturday in Texas.
Yeah, there's something going on in Austin.
Yeah,
What about it?
co-headlining a show with some old heads. This guy who goes by the nom de plume of Rat Bastard, who's in this band called To Live and Shave in LA that I actually really, really loved. Um, so that's flattering.
Really cool.
Yeah. Um, we saw the video of you as a 15-year-old
My God.
fashion designer.
I've been trying to scrub that video
We
for
did a little cyber
No, don't
stalking.
scrub that
ah!
shit.
At this point, it's such good lore that it should just live. Like it's
I'm amazed the video has like 25,000 views too. It's pretty
crazy.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it perfectly
It's
captured also just sorry your fashion at the time was so of its time, like that sort of eyeliner and the
Yup. It was
yeah,
very 2007.
that's fire though.
Yeah.
Were
I
you
think
on MySpace?
hell yeah. I was on
Yeah.
MySpace for like a year. I caught the like tail end of MySpace, but I was living my best life. It was also like peak emo,
Mm.
which was also like a huge like formative cultural
What
experience.
what bands? What bands were you listening to?
Damn. Birthday Massacre, Mindless Self-Indulgence.
Mm.
Oh, I
Ooh,
remember them.
uh,
MSI.
yeah, hell yeah. I loved them. Fuck, I'm gonna think of all the best ones after we hang up, but
No, that's dope. And then you like reunited for like another visit like 9 years later or whatever.
yeah, we do this like periodically. Like they still follow me and ask me to come back on and do periodic
You're
updates.
keeping
What
them
about you?
going. You're keeping the cable
Yeah, the
cable
local
in
news.
business.
I mean, I found
Carrying
it
it on my
super
back.
endearing,
Yeah.
and I was truly impressed by the fact that you've been committed to the discipline for that long. I've said this before on the podcast, but I always said if I could go back in time, I probably would be interested in fashion specifically, just because it's such a there's so much possibility for like a Gesamtkunstwerk like blend of image, movement, um, and then just like the grandiosity of it. But I grew up on Cape Cod, and being an artsy fartsy kid, even if I was like an athlete and had a pretty girlfriend and whatnot, the gay innuendo would just be like it was just too brutal at that point. So I ended up a shell of my true self until I was able to finally move to the big city
Yeah.
and let the freak flag wave.
Yeah. I feel
But
like I had an equally like improbable youth though. I
mm,
mean, I'm from Wisconsin. My mom was a ship captain. Like nobody in my immediate sphere had any sort of like culture credential, no business entrepreneurship skills. So I think that was my success is like having to incubate this vision in a total vacuum. If that makes sense.
what do you think you would be doing if not for fashion?
Oh, that's a good question. I would be here. Okay. I would be operating and managing the tightest FedEx you've ever fucking seen. Like,
I
I'm
can see
such a
that.
straight edge Virgo. I love to staple. I love to package things, tape things. I like little compartments. That would be what I would be
You'd
doing.
be running that shit like the Navy.
Right.
You'd have them ships tighter than your mom was running them.
Literally. Yeah. No,
All
I
right,
don't
this
know.
is this
There's
is
no money.
fun. What would you be doing if not for whatever you do, Matt?
I'd be dead. Ugh.
Oh my god. I don't know. I guess I've been like kind of just plan A. I guess photography is what I do mainly, and then I have a whole bunch of different interests. But um, no, you go first. You come back to me. I'll think on it.
Okay, so it would be a detective,
The
uh, or um a professional dancer. I'm a really, really good dancer.
Hmm.
Uh, or a professional fighter.
Well,
I
yeah,
do all of
obviously.
those for you. You should do
Yeah.
all of them in one.
Yeah, I'll incorporate them into the practice somehow. No,
He's like
I'm too
a
old for
stripper
fighting now.
fed.
I weigh 200 pounds, which means I'd have to fight guys who are like fucking 6'2". I'd get washed.
Hmm. I feel like I would maybe like an architect or like when I was like in middle school, I was like my mom got me this book about interior design, but I really just liked cleaning up my room. That's and like putting furniture, like rearranging my furniture. But I don't think I was got to be a interior designer.
Matthew Kondo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, but for me, like getting when I learned about fashion, it was kind of like an outgrowth. It was like when I was still really studying a lot of contemporary art in college, and I dawned upon the young British artists, blah blah blah, Sarah Lucas, Jake and Dinos Chapman, all those motherfuckers, and then I learned about Galliano and McQueen. Um, and to me, like those guys, like that does qualify as high art as far as I'm concerned. Both those guys. And then of course there's some others I really like too, Rick Owens and whatever. But who were the designers that made you want to start making clothes?
God. Well, the thing is that I never aspired to be part of the fashion industry. Like that was something that was symptomatic to this obsession that I had, which was
Hmm.
purely craft based. So like collaging shapes on the body in the round was something that I was fascinated by since I was really young, since before I could articulate it creatively. So for me, it's been a very tactile, physical, visceral attraction to this really specific thing. And like the body at the end of the day is a canvas like every other. Um, and I guess I really love like the chronology and the ephemera of fashion. I love that you can tell a story through a series of events, through people, through conceptual arcs. Like I'm just having so much fun, and I'm able to scratch every creative itch that I have through this medium.
Mm.
I get to be like an art director, creative director. I get to be a casting director, fashion designer, entrepreneur. I get to step in and out of every single thing that I want to do creatively in this one compact economy.
Yeah, and I love that you've made the spectacle of the show such a central focus, because that is, of course, like, obviously I'm not wearing many Galliano pieces, although I have bought Michelle 3 pairs of Margiela tabbies during Galliano's tenure. Um, but to me, like his shows and McQueen's shows, like the Highland Rape show, I'm like, this shit is just fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to your show last year with the mud and the propulsive industrial techno soundtrack, and then of course the ball, it's like it feels new, let alone any sort of scenes around it. It just feels like it's something new in fashion.
That's nice to hear. I feel like there are a lot of like platitudinal design offerings these days, and I feel like people are speaking to their own ideological choirs, and I don't know, I'm just exhausted. I'm tired of creating work for a woke Overton window. I just want to do things that feel important to me now, and those things don't always make sense within a contemporary context, but I create work for future historians, honestly, not for contemporary critics. So, I mean, the salon was definitely experimental and very fun and weird. I don't think it made a lot of sense to people in the immediate, fashion week context.
Mm.
Uh, but I think looking back at that, it'll make a lot more sense within like the oeuvre of my work.
Yeah, it was something, well, it's something to remember.
But it's also just what like makes the collection desirable and worth buying into is like, do you identify with this statement? Like, do you love this universe that we've created? And that's why you should get the t-shirt. That's fashion.
Yeah,
The idea.
absolutely.
Yeah. But
um
going back to just, you were talking about craft before. Um, do you think about or approach certain pieces from like a functional design angle at all? Or is it mostly kind of uh like an aesthetic justification? Like I know you do the metal work or work with like a part of a parachute or
Yeah,
something
no,
like
this is
that.
a good question. This is kind of the breakdown of how fashion works, right? Like you have the entire collection and it's merchandised into specific categories for different needs.
Okay, gotcha.
There's a percentage of the collection that is just the genius of the brand that you buy into when you get the keychain or the purse or the fragrance. And then there's a majority of the collection that has great margins, that are basic, that can sell. You
Mm,
reserve those for wholesale. And then there's a percentage that's kind of experimental that you're maybe like pointing towards the direction of where the brand and the product are going to go in the future seasons. So each of these things we factor into the individual items that we make. And then the styling is just pure glamour and pure fun. So like
yeah.
when you dissect the look, actually each item is quite wearable. It's just compiled in a way that's like visually exciting and intriguing.
Mm. Um, and there was another question I was gonna ask. It'll come back to me.
Okay.
did you so at the Met Gala in 2023, this is just dish I'm looking for, sorry,
Okay.
but
Let's hear it.
you went with Balenciaga, and I thought this was interesting because Demna, they had just like barred Kanye off from the brand completely. What is Demna actually like? And why do him and his brother hate each other so much now?
You know what? I did not ask that question that night. If I get the chance again, I will. But these guys are all nice. They're like lovely, sweet, soft-spoken gays. Like
Yeah.
they're just kind, nice, quiet people. I think a lot of us designers have like front of house, like kayfabe imagery that we're trying to keep up. Like just look through my articles, like fashions like bad girl, her enfant terrible, like all of this like ridiculous shit that has no correlation to me as a person. So I just keep that in mind, like when I'm meeting all these other designers that have equally as like prolific public profiles.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I always thought he was a bit of a genius. I mean, ever since he put the fucking DHL logo on the t-shirt and like sold it for $900 or whatever, I was like, that's what fashion is, you know? It's excess. It's attaching an obscene value to something.
Mundane and banal, yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. I always really admired his work. I actually was just in Japan and was able to buy Balenciaga for the first time in my life, so that was kind of cool.
Cool.
Would
What'd you
you
get?
ever? I got one of those sweaters he made with just Balenciaga logo all over the place, and I got like a hoodie kind of thing. We bought so much clothes in Japan, it was crazy. I got Michelle like a Gucci dress, a Gucci purse, a Sakai jacket, etc., etc., and it was all dirt cheap. It was amazing.
Wow.
I remembered my question. It's another fun one, but do you have any like pet peeves that maybe pertain to like the garments themselves, or like certain design things that like you just hate to see?
Oh. Do you know what? Not really, because I don't spend too much time looking at other collections. I'm not
God.
interested in fashion. I don't partake in fashion. And I think that once I get to the crux of why that is, it'll make me a much better ready-to-wear designer. Because for me, like I love the fantasy and the drama and
Yeah.
like the high-end conceptual pieces. Um, but yeah, I don't spend time on Vogue Runway. I don't have very many favorite fashion designers. I don't look at fashion. Like fashion has just never been something that was for me as somebody like from my income bracket, from my part of the world.
Totally, yeah.
So,
But how do you I feel like being an artist, there's kind of the two sides of like the consuming and creating. And the consuming doesn't always have to be other people's art necessarily, but sometimes it exposes you to a new narrative, new way of thinking, new vision, and then maybe you take a piece of that and implement it into what you're doing. But how do you go about, or how are you finding like new things to pull from or inspiration? Because
yeah, and I think it would be kind of like it would feel like a circle jerk to pull that
for sure, of like,
conceptual like
but
art to
I
fashion.
do think, not to cut you off, but of course, like, some of the greatest pieces of art are always pulling like maybe from the classics, or to a certain capacity, because a lot of the message or themes are perennial.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like you do that in a certain capacity, like.
Yeah, you know what? I'm sure that I do, but I feel like I'm so close to it that this like meta critique is better left to like somebody who's observing me.
No, I like that. Yeah,
You
that's
know?
great.
Like there
Yeah.
are so many questions that I just refuse to answer when I have like interviews with the press, because it's like I don't want to remove myself from my proximity to what I do and get
Mm.
too observational about my process. But that was a very head ass answer. But
No, that's I totally agree, because I've stumbled up on that point like just in recent time, learning about like philosophy and stuff, and it's like all this like word games and the self-help culture we live in, and you're like trying to find advice to give you the answer, and the answer is like fall in love with the process of doing and being and the craft. Like that's probably why it worked for you. It being in a craft is that you don't have to come at it from a high conceptual angle. It's just like getting really good at sewing or like whatever.
Exactly. And like to that point, that's why I'm not a good expert on my work.
Yeah, that's totally valid.
Which I love,
No.
which is great. And I have yet to find somebody who just gets me, and like that's something that's really frustrating.
Yeah.
I had very high hopes for Kathy Horan. I love her still. But I have such amazing conversations with some of these editors offline where we're just having an informal discussion about the concept for the season. They would just want to get a bit of background on what I'm working on. We have the most amazing discussions. And then in writing, like they just totally miss the point. And I don't know what it is. Like, are they like lying, or are they just like completely like
I've been writing about this situation a little bit, actually. I call it press release mind control. I was
Artist
thinking,
statement brain.
yeah, like I went to Maurizio Catalan and Matthew Barney right now have exhibitions right next door to one another. So like two of the great provocateurs of Gen X visual arts. In both of them, Matthew Barney's doing his thing. It's about male fitness, male strength. It's a video of him doing like football dance moves, showing off his agility and physique. And then Maurizio Catalan is a sculpture of a homeless person pissing. And then, so as soon as I saw the homeless person pissing, my thoughts were, fuck, I hate these nasty bums. Why can't they get them off the street? But the press release insists that this is some statement about income inequality. And Maurizio is very concerned about inequality. And I'm like, that's clearly not what he was thinking. He was just like, he visited New York and saw the shitstorm that it's become.
they're like gentrifying his mind. They're gentrifying the artist's mind. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So it's like art is like typically a fairly intuitive practice, but to sell it, they have to attach a concept to it, and that concept has to fit into industry thought of that moment. Like I really long for like the era of, early modernism when it was just like a salon and it was just like flagrantly hawking paintings to the aristocracy. Here's the painting. Like we're kind of not allowed these authentic moments anymore, not allowed our own thought process about the work, because everyone is insisting that their work has this fucking meaning, whether they believe it or not. I don't even think that making art requires a particularly high IQ. I think it's more a blood, guts, and cum kind of thing than it is a brain kind of thing.
Totally. And this is why I'm so jealous of artists. Like, I don't consider myself an artist. I consider myself a designer. I feel like there's a certain artist's privilege that you forego when you participate in a commercial economy, or when you admit that publicly. So I think that, like, I don't know. I can't be negligent of the context in which my work has to ultimately exist, which is for trade, for commerce. So I mean, I'm trying to dismantle that for myself and reconcile with it and try to make it make sense for how I want to communicate my ideas.
How, like, financial solvency wise, how does it all stay afloat? Like, I mean, some of these brands
So
have been
hard.
around for a while now that I just didn't think would ever last, like Ekaz Lada and these people have like kind of persevered. How has that been going?
I wonder if they make money or if they just occupy a really indispensable place in the fashion market that they just can't be allowed to fail. I don't know. Like Ekos Lada strikes me as that kind of a brand that just has such important like cultural real estate that it wouldn't make sense if it would just cause an imbalance in the industry if Ekos Lada just didn't exist all of a sudden. I don't know. Like I am financing the brand through like gum and tape. Like it is impossible. I don't come from private wealth. Like that's been a huge that's something I'm very public about. Like I released a profile in the New York Times a couple of years ago about like the impossibility, like the sheer impossibility of what it takes to start a fashion brand. And it's difficult. Like you go to venture capitalists and the problem is like how do you quantify, like how do you distill all of this soft power into like a numerical value? Like how can I tell you why it's worth investing in me because I went to the Met Gala or because like I dress like Grimes? Like
Hmm.
it's impossible. And then the people that do invest in fashion aren't necessarily interested in um such a new brand. Like also I'm just a nuisance. Like I'm a public nuisance. I don't care to conform. Like it's a punk brand. I don't mind like taking the bad press, inviting the canceled people. Like I don't care about any of that. And a lot of people with money do. So I guess I'm ghettoizing myself in one sense, but ultimately I think that in the long term it will serve me well. I hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I the economics of all these culture industries don't really make sense to me. I know nobody sells books, for instance, and yet they're still produced at like a high rate. I think we're all just swimming on fumes.
Well, yeah,
Like,
and also like fashion isn't what sells. It's set dressing for the other things that sell. So you if you start a fashion brand, this is something that nobody told me when I went to Parsons. Like you don't sell the clothing, you sell the bag, you sell the keychain, you sell like the
yeah,
accessory. Um, and I'm not a product designer. Like it never occurred to me that like fashion just didn't exist in the way that I thought it did.
It's
right.
all
Like Chanel
merchandising.
became Chanel because of Chanel #5 or
Yeah. Well, yeah, and in fashion you have to have like 5 to 10 different revenue streams, like direct to consumer and e-commerce and wholesale. Like that's one thing, but that's not how anyone is sustaining themselves in the fashion industry. It's through like subscriptions or sponsorships, collaborations, partnerships. You just have to be like hustling constantly to find different ways to make it work. Or you don't.
right,
Like it's
right,
not a fair thing. It's not fair. Like if I weren't able to make it work somehow for this long, I just wouldn't exist and nobody would be any the worse for it.
When are
right.
we getting
Like
the Elena Velez Patreon?
Literally, yeah. The Substack.
I can finance you with my crypto. I'm doing
Fuck
my
yeah,
crypto
let's
trading.
go. Let's go.
I
No,
made
no, bro.
I
You need to be grind set. You need to be renting out multifamily properties and then renting them out and then buying real estate and whatever. Blah, blah, blah.
I'm just trying. I mean, I got some money, but it's not like enough money, you know?
Can I have some?
Yeah.
You're getting a little bit of it.
I am getting a little
But
producer
we'll see.
credits.
And like this is kind of like, oh, this is a spicy thing to say, but like this is kind of my attraction to like the more conservative audience because number one, they love that like there's a fashion brand that's promoting Made in America that is like highlighting stories from outside
Midwest,
of
baby.
yeah, dismantling the geographical condescension of the fashion industry. We got a young girl from Wisconsin who's like gonna change the perspective on the American fashion identity. They love that. And they also just understand like the concept of patronage, which like a left-wing audience just doesn't get. So I don't know. I have such an easier time like shopping around like show sponsorships to like conservative like literary publications and XYZ.
Mm,
And they see value in like doing a fashion collection on Gone with the Wind. Like
Yeah,
there's just more of an appetite for like critical discourse and
yeah.
like tradition and history. So I don't know what it is. Like
Yeah. Aside, yeah, well, I mean, especially in the 2010s, I felt that fashion got stale because it was just like a never-ending rotation of Central St. Martin's graduates and Royal Academy graduates that had studied with Walter von Beirendonck and like Craig Green. And I really hate Craig Green. Like I don't like. I'm like, yeah. I'm just like, that's just like paying $1,000 to look completely retarded. You know, especially that he's like he's allegedly making menswear, but like I don't know. That's
Yeah,
something I'm curious about. Would you ever be interested in doing menswear? And do you
totally.
need a muse?
I already had the muse. Listen, I saw you at the
Yeah.
botch Application show. That's when it was decided. No, I'd love to. I want to do like unisex menswear. I have like a very specific brand universe that I've created in my mind that doesn't just extend to like women's wear fashion. Like I want to do furniture, I want to do experiences. I really want to get into music and sound and touch all of these different things with this like vein of like creativity that I feel that I've like created through all of these different disparate experiences.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would love to see your one of your shows soundtracked by like some like gritty power electronics, like White House, or you probably have no idea what I'm talking about right now. But
Not no, not no.
um
I
just
want to
like
do like I like Empty Set. I like Dem Dyke Stare. I love Andy Stott.
Them
Like,
Dyke Stairs good, I Stott's good,
oh,
yeah. Yeah. That's the more lush dark electronics of the
exactly.
2010s. Yeah.
Yeah.
My pal Dominic Furnow actually has worked with Dem Dyke Stare. He put out one of their albums on his label. That's good shit.
Super good shit.
What do you think of that like Derek Menswear guy on Twitter?
Eric Blasberg.
He's like always talking about like
Like the
the
celebrity
correct
chef
the
guy.
correct suit length and all that.
It's so funny that you say that. Like I did a book report on his etiquette novel that he put out when I was in like fourth grade, and I forced all of the guys in the group project to read that book too.
Oh god.
So they're just out in the world with that knowledge. I don't get it
Might
though.
have helped him. Yeah.
Pissed. I don't get it. I'm not the girl, but like he's got a demographic.
No, I get it. I mean, I don't know shit about like dressing and formal wear, but it's just like the rule enforcing and the like, actually, they
Right.
look bad. It's just like really fucking annoying. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
there's
think
no
it's autistic. Menswear is so autistic.
yeah. Well, the
That's
hype
why only
beast
right wingers like dress well.
yeah.
They're
I mean
such literally.
for me, like I never cared um about brands necessarily. I mean, obviously, I've said there are some I like, but I always dressed just like I always just liked what I like, and I like to wear a thrashed pair of Levi's with like an old ass Saint Laurent button down shirt, you know. But ultimately it's funny weird for men because men can look good just in like a black t-shirt tucked into a pair of blue jeans, so it's like a totally different thing for us, but at the same time it's also really liberating to fop out and flex with the drip. I was just hanging out with this kid, Mike. Yeah, he was at this noise festival that I was at in Osaka, and he kind of was like trying to latch on to me because I had the backstage pass, and you know how these people be. um but I didn't realize that he was Mike the Ruler, who was like the child hype beast in the early 2010s, who got like a huge internet following for just like blowing tons of his parents' money on Supreme. So finally, I was like, whoa. Are you Mike the fucking Ruler from like Hypebeast circa 2012? He's like, yeah, I don't talk about that anymore. Like,
Like,
yeah. But he has kind of good
amazing that he was
style, I
at this
guess.
festival. Well, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, he hangs out with my friend of mine, Raphael, who makes noise music, and he's interested in this stuff. There's all these like everybody's interests now are so like polymorphous because of the internet. So, you know, you can go deep basically on every subject now. You can learn the entire history of any subgenre of any cultural form.
mhm,
Um, Not in a
So
very deep or meaningful way, but you can like absorb the information at least.
totally.
Well, there's always that point where, and I'm sure, Elena, like you're at this point now where like everything you need to know or learn, it's not like it's just from you figuring out stuff as you go. It's not like piece of advice or a book giving you the answer.
Yeah, or if it's that advice, it takes me you can intellectualize something, but to know it physically is such a different sensation.
Mm,
And like that is literally just the journey of an entrepreneur, is to be told something a million times and then to feel it to be true.
mm.
So
True.
I'm yeah, I don't know. I'm desperate for like a business partner of some sort. It's just like I've been inundated with like young fashion students, girls and gays. Like the
Mm,
workplace environment is a YMCA. Like we need some toxic masculine energy in there. We need people who can organize a fucking spreadsheet. I'm
mm.
so ready to get so serious at this point.
Get corporate with it.
Get corporate, like
Get a
Yeah.
finance bro, 6'5", blue eyes.
literally.
Well, I mean, it's important to have that counterbalance. I mean, it reminds me of like in the old record label days, like you needed someone who's gonna like really enforce that deadline and get down to brass tacks. But I mean, it's a balance, like because I mean, you already have your vision, so I don't see you really going in the direction of like over merchandising and selling out or anything like that. But
I don't even
um,
think over merchandising is a problem. Like Rick Owens does the craziest shit season to season, but he basically like the reason he built $1 billion brand is because he sells fucking sneakers and tight black leather jackets repeatedly.
mm,
You know, it's like staple products are like what gives you the freedom to fucking make whatever you want.
yeah,
So sure king.
need that like.
So um so tell us about how one of obviously the unique aspects of the Elena Velez brand is the incorporation of artisans from your home of the Midwest. What does it mean to you to be able to platform all these artisans and artists that wouldn't have a pipeline towards New York City or Paris or wherever otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's like a very altruistic and lovely condensation. But for me, it's really just like more, I grew up as a very blue collar young girl in Wisconsin. Like a lot of my friends were just welders, machinists, fabricators. A lot of the immediate like makers in my space had a really specific skill set. And so if I wanted to collaborate with somebody, these are kind of the first people that I would turn to. And through that process, like it kind of gave me an opportunity to re-articulate the possibility of what future American artisanal luxury can be, as it once was and could be again. And the incorporation of metal was like a really quintessential thing that I wanted to pull into my early work, because obviously it's so iconic to the Rust Belt, to the Midwest, um, and is just such a specific and literal interpretation of this dichotomy of hard and soft that I love um, to speak to through the collections. So I think it's really fun to be able to be like a pipeline to the industry for other like very non-traditional makers and creatives who wouldn't otherwise have the proximity or the platform to be able to impact the fashion space. And as I was going through my fashion journey and going through London and Paris, St. Martin's, Parsons, like the more familiar I got with like the cosmopolitan girl, the more I hated her. And like it made me long for this like vision of like femininity that I had in my youth. These women were very aggressive and industrious and just tough fucking bitches that got shit done, and like that I wanted to um make sexy and make cool and make commodifiable again. It's a very
Yeah.
statement, but like that's the image of womanhood that I miss, that I want to see more of in the world, and that I think is distinctly cool right now.
Yeah, like the glamour of Roseanne Barr, something
100%.
like that. Yeah, yeah. I always thought she was very glamorous, and you could tell like if she lost some weight, she'd be a very beautiful woman.
I love
Um,
a workhorse. Like
yeah.
I love my mom's ship captain friends. I love like the people that I had in high school, like their moms were like factory workers and like machinists and welders, and they were just like different, like so different, and spoke to like a bygone American spirit, a pioneer grit that like doesn't exist anymore.
It definitely doesn't exist on my end. I had the exact opposite fucking upbringing. My
Mhm.
dad got rich so his oldest son could grow up, Substack, make art, and trade crypto and bodybuild.
You're like the new Dash Snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't shoot heroin and fucking die at 27, but like I did shoot heroin in the past.
When you were 27.
I mean, yeah, Dash used to always be in purple back in the day. I used to think those guys I really looked up to. Those guys seemed really cool to me, and now they're like all dead. So, you fetishize the wrong things at a certain age.
Mhm.
Um, Dash also had terrific personal style too, no doubt about that.
Hmm.
Um, Speaking of just your dislike of the urban woman, the metropolitan woman, uh, who do you think of all the celebs that wore your clothes so far looked the best? I have my opinion.
Oh, that's a good question. Uh, Probably Rosalia. She's
Mm,
poor. Rosalia's great. Taylor Swift kind of ate.
She
she
did though.
did.
She kind of
Congrats on
ate.
that.
Uh, I'm really excited about something I have coming up with Ethel Kane.
Mm.
Oh,
And I
that's a cool
think,
one.
yeah, we're working on something really expansive for her summer tour. And I think that that is just such a quintessentially iconic overlap. Like we both are pulling references from the same sort of overlooked flyover culture. I'm gonna go with Ethel.
The best is yet
Mine
to
would
come.
be Earth Eater with those fucking gigantic titties. Alexandra used to be sort of adjacent to the noise scene, so I would see her before she became like a big thing. And yeah, those titties were always just like shocking.
She's crazy. She's so cool.
Shocking. Do you know who I'm talking about, Matt?
I'm looking at the pictures now.
Those are as big as naturals get, I would say.
Oh, that's
You
in
haven't
the
met my friend Mariah.
Oh no, I have met Mariah. She's got some
Okay.
big naturals too.
Non-compete. Absolutely not.
Yeah, that's true.
I
Wow,
have
that's
this
crazy.
idea for a campaign that I really want to do. I really want to have like a car wash fundraiser with the Pumps girls in the Bronx to raise money for something just absolutely insane.
hmm.
I don't know what for, but I just think it'd be really funny. Like,
That's so funny. I was my friends Beanstalk, my bandmate, and Bradford and I, we went to go see Harmony Korine's new movie, Aggro Drift, if it could be called a movie. It's kind of shit, but there's this heavy like rap stripper club aesthetic. And Beanstalk is such a strippers addict that he made me drop him off at Pumps on the way home.
hell yeah.
So he's like, oh, don't bring me home, just bring me to Pumps. This
He,
motherfucker is broke,
So
but still
I,
gets his dances.
he'll always like he'll like randomly, because he has like a zillion faces on Instagram and personalities and whatever. But then just at random times he'll post like some girl's bare ass. And then of course like my girlfriend's like standing right next to my phone, like while this is happening.
I know it happens to me all the time
I'm
too.
like, no, no, no. This is just this guy. He's really arty. It's a part of his performance
really
art.
arty.
Yeah, sometimes you're just scrolling through the feed too, and then you come across a thought pic at like the wrong time. And it's like you're like, I didn't put the fucking
No,
thought pic
I
there. It's
no,
this bitch
yeah.
who's thirsty for attention.
Anyway, would
Yeah.
you say, I mean, this is a dumb question, Elaine, but like, do you think you have like a blue collar approach to work, or do you
Yeah,
kind of,
I mean, I work hard and not smart. I don't know if that's blue collar, probably not,
yeah,
because they all get jobs that pay well. Uh, I I don't know. I've never really thought of it like that. I'm just like scrappy and industrious and trying to figure it out with whatever
yeah,
that I have.
yeah.
And maybe that has like helped me to, I don't know.
Well, I
Yes,
just think,
probably. I'm a
some people,
fish. I can't notice the water.
yeah, okay, yeah, all right. No,
You
I
tell
just,
what's your
no,
read?
no, that's probably accurate. I just think, you know, a lot of people who consider themselves artists and who are not producing, they wait for inspiration to strike or whatever that means. And then, both of you who I'm chatting to now have like consistent output, high output. So, I mean, I
Yeah.
think you both really love what you're doing and just keep at it. But I have a friend like who's a filmmaker, and he loves it underlying, but like filmmaking, it's all work. Like
Mhm.
you don't really get to see, especially you know for a full length or feature length or whatever. You don't get to really reap the benefits till like years later. So
Right.
it's just like fucking shooting, editing, and
No, no,
some
no.
of it
Making
is,
a movie is no fucking joke
it's
Mhm.
not
on any scale. On
it's
any
yeah, I
scale.
mean, it's it's a lot of just toiling. So I
Well,
I could
that's the gratification is like having an oeuvre, like having a body of work that like articulates you in all of these different multifaceted ways. Like for me, every time I do a show, I feel like I'm taking another chisel to like a slab of marble and like defining like my public profile and what's meaningful to me in a new way. And
yeah.
every single time, like it's making a different indent that says something new and more nuanced about what I'm trying to create.
Hmm.
So like I don't get that gratification now. I do in like small doses, but like I'm working towards something that I don't understand and can't see yet.
Yeah, yeah. The ineffable.
Slowly, Adam.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. That's like why most visual artists are so jealous of musicians, is because you get that immediate recognition and appreciation for your craft up front. How
Yeah.
do you feel like that impacts the way you think about your work?
Oh my God. Well, boss stratification is like childhood fantasy fulfillment
Love it.
because I mean, I was obsessed with music from a very young age. I grew up in the age of Nirvana and Smashing Pumpkins being like huge stars. I wanted to be a rock star. Um, I never, however, was very gifted at playing guitar. I can play a few chords or whatever. But finally, one day, Beanstalk and I were hanging out and we had these jokes. And then we turned them into songs. And I found out I'm a really good howler or screamer. And not to toot my own horn too much, but I'm good at performing. So yeah, it feels amazing. It feels like, especially like, how I incorporate all these other things that I'm interested into the performance of the show. And I have to like this shit is hard work. Believe me, like I just had to go on a fucking 3-week diet right now. And tomorrow I have to start on diuretics to fucking melt off all the water. Like I take this shit seriously. But yeah, it feels cool. It feels like I've become a version of myself that my childhood self imagined. It's not like
Mhm.
it's like my main output, but it's part of a larger practice. And yeah, I don't think anything can really beat just like performing in front of an audience and getting people off. And there's that scene in Almost Famous where the lead singer and the guitar player are arguing, and the lead singer is like, if I see one person in the audience not getting off, then I stare them down, sing into their eyes, and I make them get off. That's how I kind of feel about it.
I'm so jealous. Like in what I do, I never get to have that moment of like cumulative ecstasy, that like shared interaction with like the audience. Like that's so much fun.
Yeah, I wrote about this in an interview. I had an interview response that's pertinent here. Uh,
Even if you put yourself like in your own clothes for and walked in them, or you,
I feel like that would be so cringe.
it would, yeah.
I don't know why. Like the idea of wearing my own stuff just feels really weird.
Well, I guess it turns you into like an act, or you know what I mean? Like the
Yeah,
musician
maybe
is
it's
like,
that. Like maybe I would feel too much like a meme.
yeah, like
Like
performer or something.
I wear Costco, like Kirkland signature shit. I wear whatever I can get from Farm and Fleet, and then like occasionally like whatever I get gifted from like another brand, which is usually like Nike or like some sportswear brands.
Yeah.
My style is just not naked. That's
Yeah.
it.
If you had to, because your primary color palette is like white, black, gray. But if you had to choose one color,
I feel like it's just lots of colors. There's so many colors. They're just like within like a very specific spectrum. Like I love olive. I love like Chambord, which is kind of like a brown purple. Like
fancy.
yeah. Okay. Guys come in and they're like, okay, it's white and it's black, but like the girls and the gays, they just get it. They're like, that's charcoal, that's ice, that's sea foam, that's
Mm.
moss. So I don't know. I'm really into
It's a spectrum.
it's a spectrum. I'm really into green right now.
Yeah, you're really what?
I'm really into green.
I fuck with green. I feel like I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like having a house and like renovating the interiors and having to choose colors for your walls that aren't just like this muted colorway that I always
Yeah.
it's forced me to think about color in a new way.
Yeah.
My favorite color right now is Cromwell gray.
I gotta look that one up.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's in the Crayola box, the 128 box.
Not the one.
um,
Cromwell gray. Yeah, that's a nice color.
how has it been living where you are now? Because so I actually took a trip 2 weeks ago to Michigan, to Grand Rapids, because I was the on-set photographer for a short film. And only part of Midwest I've really been to is Michigan. And I was quite charmed to in a certain way of like the true suburbia in you know and how and when I got back to the city here, like everything was like disgusting to me. It was like so loud, everybody's so loud. There's trash all over the place, and then I immediately started looking for houses like in upstate Connecticut, because I was like, I can't, how much longer can I live in the city for?
Right.
But then I also thought, well, there's no fucking work for me up there.
Move here,
That's if
dude.
I
Move to Forest Hills.
yeah, I'm already on the Adam trajectory. Like we both have dogs, we both have our respective girlfriends, we're both Jewish.
I got a wife.
Yeah,
Damn.
sorry, you have your
What a
wife. I
husband.
have my soon to be wife, and I'll live a happy little life and force it. But then I thought, I was just like, man, it would be super dope, but there's not much going on up there. But
Hmm.
I guess that's part of the appeal. How are you dealing with that?
It's definitely it's new. It's for sure isolating. I think having two young kids under 3 years old is claustrophobic
It's got to
enough.
be intense time, yeah.
Yeah. So like right now we're really cash strapped, like extremely poor. We've got two under three. We've got a company that uh obviously isn't extremely commercially successful. It's quite niche. So this is kind of a really difficult time in my life as like a creative and an entrepreneur and as somebody who had a certain like momentum and trajectory a couple of years ago that I just don't recognize anymore. So I don't know. This is like a really formative experience for me. Like I'm learning how to sit with discomfort in a really meaningful way,
Mm,
and how to just ride it out and pace myself in a way that I've never ever been confronted with previously. Like right now, like I really want to be making like fuck you art. Like I want to be making the next amazing collection that's going to beat the fashion industry at their own game, show all of these editors and like fuck you guys. Like you guys are just so low IQ and you don't get it and I hate you. And instead I'm like sitting on a couch watching like Peppa Pig for like 6 hours straight, watching my
Yeah.
inbox like pile up.
Yeah.
So
Is it
It's tough.
tough.
is it weird having like the name recognition but not like the income?
That's the worst fucking part. That
Me
Yeah.
is
too.
so stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
No,
So
it's
stressful.
rough. Like I count Billy Corgan, John Mouse, Dominic Furna, all these people amongst my fans, but translating that into a viable business model is still very difficult. But I feel like we will persevere.
Failure's just not an option. And that's
Yeah.
just the mindset you have to have if you're gonna
Sorry
Yeah.
guys, I'm really sweaty. I gotta pop the shirt off.
I
I'm
know
on
it's
trend
so
right
hot,
now.
right?
Yeah.
It's super hot.
we all can't afford. Well, Adam does have his AC on.
I'm on trend right
Can you
now.
make
It
your
makes you sweat
pecs?
like crazy.
Can you do like the Terry Crews like pec moving thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow,
cute.
Jesus
Keyword.
Christ.
I love that.
Nice, bro.
Yeah.
You're quite red. Is that just like the sun or is that just the lighting?
I spent 12 minutes in a tanning booth today because I don't like spray tans. So
GTL baby.
yeah,
Did
exactly.
you went to the gym, you tanned, did you do the laundry?
No, I'm a New Yorker. I dropped that shit off.
Oh my
Same.
God, that is so gross. I cannot even fucking imagine. No
Yeah.
woman would ever do that.
Well, Michelle does it
My
now.
boyfriend- Well, my husband now, but when he absolutely.
I remember Vice magazine, like in 2011, was like, if you're not dropping your laundry off, you're a simp. I'm like, I took that to heart.
Yeah.
That's like the golden era of Vice. What happened to her?
Oh, Vice. Well, it was very simple. They got rid of Gavin and went
Yeah.
corporate. Yeah, I was actually interning there in 2012 when that all went down. It was just after Gavin left, and there were CNN people coming in for big wig meetings with Shane Smith, and it was all very hush hush. Horrible work experience, by the way.
Really?
That place is like, their whole business philosophy was like, oh, it doesn't matter that we don't really pay you guys. It's just like you get cool access by working here. And I'd be like, yo, I don't give a fuck. I'm trying to make a living over here. So I left pretty quick. But
They
yeah,
didn't
that
have an
was
acai buffet like they do at Google.
no. They had fucking Keurig coffee and cunty editors constantly at each other's throats. There was this one fucker named Wilbert Cooper who was Vice's equivalent to a fashion editor, as black dude. It really made me see when I learned that this guy was basically the same age as me, but had gotten the gig right out of college, whereas I was a MFA student.
Yeah.
And this guy would be like not just barking orders at me, but doing so over DM, despite the fact that this motherfucker was not but 2 feet away from me. I'm like, why can't you just say this shit to me?
Square up, say it with your chest.
Yeah, exactly. He did have great style. I'll give him that. And I'm pretty sure he's failed now. I don't think his career went anywhere after Vice collapsed.
Wow.
I have that like do's and don'ts book. Kurt recommended it to me. That was all
Gavin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the do's and don'ts book?
Oh, I'll go grab it in a second, but it's like fashion do's and don'ts. But you can't quite tell what is a do and what's not and what's a don't. It's just all kind of like snapshots style photography of like people at parties or on the street and
whether they look like shit or they look cool or not.
Yeah, and the most iconic one is like of like a baby wearing like purple pants and that captions something like, look at this little faggot wearing his purple pants. I'm gonna go get it.
Amazing, dude.
Yeah.
Gavin was amazing.
Hell yeah.
No, Vice was super great at one point. The first issue I ever saw was the drugs issue, which I think was like 2007. and the cover was this drug dealer with a ski mask on holding up his baggies, and then inside the magazine they had like a spread from Larry Clark's Tulsa book. They had the A to Z Guide to Rehab written by Leslie Arfin, which
So
is
good.
really funny. Like Jay was like Juicy Couture suits because you're just like uncomfortable and in withdrawal, so you need your Juicy Couture shit like that. It was truly pioneering publishing and launched a shitload of careers. But that company is a shell of itself. It is completely bankrupt. Great fucking hilarious thing that just happened. The last cool thing they were doing, I did a lot of skateboarding and shit when I was a kid. So they had this video series called Epically Latered, which is like the
Yeah.
yeah, best skateboarding like docu-series ever. Basically, they've done episodes on so many of the best pros that are all really interesting and in depth. And he almost got his work freed from Vice entirely after they filed bankruptcy, and he was going to like move it over to Thrasher or something. But Vice, in a last ditch attempt to keep their traffic up, re-signed the show. And the first episode of him coming back was this homosexual skater who good skater, nothing against the homosexual skater part, but he's part of this company that is like giving professional boards to like trannies and shit that can't do like a fraction of what pro skaters are supposed to be able to do. And I'm like, this is so fucking typical. You go from covering the best in the world at a thing to the people who just are trans and are like board sliding a curb like it's the fucking 70s or some shit.
Yeah.
Made me mad.
Man,
I
the
can't.
early 2000s were so sick. What a moment.
So long ago now. Can you believe it?
I
It's
can't.
now the 80s were to the early 2000s what the early 2000s were to now.
I'll always be in year 2000. Like the 80s will just always feel like 20 years ago.
Yeah, for real.
But I think that's true for everybody. I mean, there's been a flattening effect of time in
Do
general.
I see time in colors?
Yeah.
I totally do. Like 2, 4, 6 are all like blues, and then 1, 3, 5 are all reds and browns.
And then
Like
Nice.
the 80s will
20
always be like a blue year for me.
and then 2020 is black. And then 2021 is yellow.
Maybe a
uh
stroke.
oh man. Nah, that was just some light racism jokes for the real heads.
Took me a second to get that in.
Yeah. 2020. It's all about the black. Did I have any more questions?
What are you vaping? What's the fillet of?
Just classic tobacco flavor. My one indulgence besides grams of testosterone and tren and growth hormone and weed and
Elena,
Xanax.
what are your vices? Do you have any vices?
Uh, God, I'm the laziest person I know somehow. So, like right now, like I'm trying to diet. Like I'm fasting and I have mom brain, so I'm like
Oh my
aggressively
God.
retarded. But I just feel like my life will be better if I'm like 130 pounds. I don't know what that means. But I'm like weaponizing my laziness to just not eat. I don't know. My vices are like extremely tame. I've never been somebody who like drank or did drugs or
Yeah.
slept around. And
How
like
long are your
part of me
fasts
hates that,
going?
like wasted youth. What?
How long are you fasting for?
I don't know, just like indefinitely, just not eating.
My
All right,
girlfriend told
so
me, she's like, I want to be so skinny that I, blow away
Scare
with the
people,
wind.
all right,
literally.
I'll just fair warning though. All right, intermittent fasting can
Doesn't
be a
work for
great.
women, blah, 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 blah.
No,
I'll
no,
do
no, no,
anything
no, no. What I was
to
gonna say
lose it.
is it's definitely an effective way of shocking the system of getting into shape. But if you extend it for too long, then your body becomes less dependent on nutrients in general, and you will starve eventually, and your blood sugar will drop, and you'll need food. and your body won't be able to digest and process the nutrients as well as it once did. I know this from bodybuilding because this is like the whole fucking thing is we have to like teach our bodies to consume a shitload amount of food without getting super fat. And
So
then
what
to
should I
be
eat if I refuse to eat?
heavy, dense protein and carbohydrate rich foods. So chicken, jasmine rice, beef, potatoes, bananas, shit like that.
That's too much. I had a White Claw and 6 chicken nuggets today.
All
That's
right,
fire.
yeah. I mean, that's pretty.
Like, good.
That's protein
Dino
and
nuggets
dense.
or
Yeah.
that's yeah, I respect. I like the Costco has like the frozen Simply Bare. That's like the best you can get. So I'm just putting you on right now.
Do you have a Costco membership, Matthew?
Oh, I do, yeah.
I do as
Yeah.
well.
Really?
But like in the city, my only way now is like I just order it on Instacart because if you don't have a car, no fucking way am I carrying all that shit back.
Having a
Yeah.
car in New York.
I have a car,
What
but
the
I still
fuck?
fucking hate going there.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
Queens Boulevard Costco is like absolute fucking hell.
What kind of car do you have, Adam?
The
Prius.
2011 CRV.
Fuck.
Cool.
I just thought you were like a Massachusetts, like go to JP Licks and like have a Prius and all
No,
that.
I kind of want to. I
2000
want to buy one of those new Broncos, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. The
I
Ford
have a
Broncos.
2006 Toyota Sienna that is full of car seats and diapers. And
Yeah.
today I spent the whole afternoon scrubbing it out because one of them threw up everywhere.
Oh,
That's
mom
my
life.
literally. That's the
Yeah.
thing is like everyone, not everyone, but like people say, "Oh, you're like a relatively egoless fashion designer." Like, what's it? And it really is just that like I spend my day doing so many humiliating things that like dressing Solange Knowles or like working with Grimes or Taylor, like that just doesn't impact me for the better in any way.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I've just, I mean, I came up like waiting tables in Wisconsin. Like I've just been confronted relentlessly with my own inadequacy in so many different ways that I don't know how much more famous I could ever get in the fashion industry where that would not apply.
If you ever got asked to do, say, Gucci was looking to shake things up, and you got that call to be the creative director of a big brand for millions of dollars, you take it, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it doesn't feel like selling out to me because like I said, like I have a vision for something that can be applied to so many different outlets, and collaboration and partnership is something that is really easy for me because I have something distinct that I can apply to that. So if they
Yeah.
ever saw value in like the creative language that I'm trying to build, then I could definitely apply it and would very much enjoy having a salary.
I think you'd be a great creative director of something like Marnie.
Hmm. Marnie had such a good campaign a couple of years ago when they had Midland agency, Walter Pierce. Do you remember when
Yeah,
Walter Pierce was a casting agent and not like a recluse hermit poet?
I do indeed.
And they had this amazing campaign where it was just like a bunch of people that they like scouted on the streets of Nebraska and just dressed them head to toe in Marnie. It was so sick.
Yeah, that was his thing. That was definitely his thing. Um, but yeah, I think making the leap to creative director like is amazing. I mean, Demna got so much better when he went to Balenciaga as opposed to doing Vetements. I could say that for several other designers. It's just curious to me because like it's obviously a very finite thing. As soon as sales dip, they seem to get rid of these people. I mean, Alessandro Michel looked untouchable at Gucci, and then they fired his ass. But is he rich enough now to retire? Probably.
Yeah.
Um, so it's definitely worth it, even if it's like a few years.
I would really enjoy doing Anda Mühlmeister.
Oh, that would be, and they need it badly,
Yeah.
they need it. A
I don't know.
revamping.
I feel like I could do Anne really well.
Yeah, she, one of the for the non-fashion savvy listeners, she's one of the Antwerp Six.
Yeah, the non-savvy fashion listeners will definitely get the Antwerp Six.
You'll also who were fashion designers from Antwerp in the 90s.
What's Antwerp?
It's a city in Belgium, you fucking numbskull.
Duh. Of course I would know that. I was just in
Uh,
Belgium last week. How could I not have known that?
but yeah, no, there's a very prestigious school there called Royal Academy of Fine Arts. It's where Anda Mullermeester went, Walter Van Beerendonk, Dries Van Noten, Raf Simons,
Ella.
Marcella. Marcella's probably the most important one. I used to be really into Raf. Now I think I'm kind of off that tip. I'm just so sick of his like fucking t-shirts selling for $6,000 on Grailed and shit.
I don't even know what he's up to. I'm just so out of the
He's at
loop.
Prada.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he got the job at Prada, which is crazy.
That a recent thing?
I think 2 years ago, and him and Musia Prada designed the collections together.
Cute.
But she's like slowly retiring, and I mean that's an insane job to get filling those. Filling, I mean, she's been doing Prada for God knows how long, 30, 40 years, something like that.
Crazy.
So, yep, that's a big job. I got a question. I heard I was listening to a Gaspar Noé interview earlier, and he posed this question: what are people more afraid of? Losing their minds or dying? What are you more afraid of? Losing your mind or dying?
Losing my mind.
He
1,000%.
said that. He said
Yeah.
more people are afraid of losing their minds.
Yeah. Because
And
it's dying. Like your identity it just ceases to exist in any meaningful way. So you're dead. You're just breathing.
it's interesting because I was trying to think about it. I don't know. I'm really afraid of death.
Are you?
Yeah.
You know what, Adam? I had a near-death experience when I gave birth to my second baby. They gave me too much in the epidural, so my blood pressure crashed and I was trending towards a flat line, and it was the most incredible feeling I've ever had. It was like melting into a hot tub of caramel, like taking the most satisfying deep breath and just exhaling forever. It was fantastic. And then
Wow.
they brought me back and it sucked.
Wow. So it's probably your body just releasing every hormone, every endorphin, every
Must
blast of
been.
dopamine.
Yeah. And like just being brought back to life and like sentience was just so jarring and uncomfortable and cold and bright and just, oh. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Wow.
One of my old drug buddies that I used to shoot heroin with, Steve, he after I got out of that game, he overdosed. And the paramedics got there on time. It required 2 shots of what is the drug they
Narcan.
use? Adrenaline.
Oh yeah.
To get him out of the hole. And he said the first one, he came up, he was conscious, but it was like he was screaming and he couldn't get out of a hole. Like, and he could feel himself just like screaming and his like survival reflex kicking in. But then they shot the second one and he came back out.
Crazy.
Crazy,
Wow.
crazy shit.
Yeah.
What's your position on death, Matt?
Oh my God. Don't get me started. I was like, literally, I told you about this, but like, yeah, the past like 2 months was really bad, man. And I just wake up every day with this horrible sadness and anxiety about dying and not remembering being here and all of this stuff. And so scary. So now I believe in Jesus. So,
That's cool.
well,
How
not entirely. I'm Jewish. Like I was, I was,
that's
I
awkward.
was, I was raised like not religious, but like my mom kind of like subscribes to like a mix of like Eastern kind of religions of sorts. And I'm a very logical person, but like I just can't give into like a sort of rationalist or materialist or like nihilist worldview. Like even if I'm completely wrong and I'm just coping, but I just like have to
No, that's
like
so true. We've like totally dismantled all of our cultural North Stars, and all that there is like nature and the antiquity of religion to set us in some general like path.
yeah,
I'm
no,
starting to
100.
feel that more and more as I age.
And it's like it's funny because you know I will watch like I can't like right now this I'm very sensitive to this sort of stuff. Even certain jokes about like people saying death and whatever like get me upset. Like, and I can't watch any Woody Allen movies. Like, those would just send me right over the edge because like all of his movies are just fucking about dying, and and he's like admittedly sort of an atheist, so it's just like even worse.
Yeah.
Um,
I've had many a night where I've been jolted out of, trying to drift into sleep where it's just like, oh my God, I'm gonna be dead someday.
yeah,
Fucking
well,
Christ.
that literally happens. Like, yeah, that happens pretty much every night. Like, if I'm happy to get through an entire night without waking up, like, because if I wake up at like 3 in the morning, like that's exactly where my head is going.
Your boys need to
Mm.
procreate, okay?
Well, I'm getting there. Well,
Procreate.
sort of. Maybe 5 years.
Yeah, I hope we can have a baby soon because I have, well, two of my babies have been aborted.
Oh,
Yeah.
So,
sorry.
yeah, it haunts me sometimes, but I mean, it was both the right decision probably in both cases. First time I was like 17 years old.
Oh
But
yeah.
I sometimes I'm like, oh my God, can you imagine if I aborted my two children and then we have like troubles conceiving or something?
Mhm. Yeah, that's so hard. But
But
everything
you
works out.
know, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm potent as a motherfucker, obviously.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and bet.
I mean, I must be like I
I'll
two
be all surrogate.
two accidental conceptions.
Right.
The odds
I
are in
but
my
But you
favor.
my
know what?
mind. Yeah.
I actually had a miscarriage my very first pregnancy, and like I swear to God, like I can feel this to be true that the same spirit waits to have its moment.
Oh,
Like
that's interesting. I
I
like
felt a
that.
very like familiar spiritual recognition when I had my first son after I had a miscarriage.
That's
Like
beautiful.
I really do believe that there is a spirit that is meant to be that will be.
Mm, that's very
That-
life affirming.
I can't articulate it, but I just know it to be true.
Yeah.
Not only is it life affirming, I think it's a phenomenal place to close a podcast. All right, Elena, thank you
Listen to
so
it.
much. I
Thank
like
you
how
guys.
deep this got
My
Fun.
at the end.
pleasure. Yeah.
Love it. All right, next time.
All right, see y'all soon.
All
Till
right.
soon.
Have a
Good
good
night.
night.
Good night.
Bye.